Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Hope with Cosmic Heart TV. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Karlee Glidden. She has a blog on called The Margins of Me on Medium. Her TikTok account is Karlee Marlee, which is KarleeMarlee, 3 E's. So cute. So she's currently been writing some content on TikTok and doing videos that have to do with breaking free from the fear of being seen, leaning fully into her authentic expression of herself and her lived experiences, reclaiming her power and her soul's purpose here on earth. She is 27. She is a beautiful woman and has recently begun speaking about her experiences living with ADHD and surviving capitalism, navigating her healing journey from growing up as the eldest daughter of emotionally immature parents. Very much understand that. She is the generational curse breaker, truth teller, and black sheep of the family. I call myself the rainbow sheep. Speaking about her spiritual awakening, creative outlook on life, and aiming to release the burden that she's carried around, suppressing her emotions as a highly sensitive person. I really want to commend you for coming on today because so many of us have had so many fears around speaking our truth for a lot of reasons, primarily because a lot of us have soul memories of past lives when speaking our truth was quite dangerous. And even in this life, I mean, we've heard so many people saying people have disappeared and all these terrible things have happened. I strongly want to encourage you to know that we are in a completely different time on earth. All of the paradigms that held us in a suppression and fear of opening up our voice and speaking our soul's truth are actually dissolving on the planet at this time. I have a lot of confirmation and messages through meditation and other masters who have had this same message. So this is truly the time. This is really the time to genuinely just open up and stop gatekeeping and also stop suppressing our voice, because when we share our story, it changes so many people's lives more than we think it does. And it takes one moment to tell your story to affect that ripple effect that then goes out into the world and helps people that you're never even going to know. You're not going to know how many people you're going to help, but eventually you'll see the effects. And that's why we do what we do. So I really want to give you the space to share, because I so appreciated seeing you speaking on now is the time for souls to share what it is that they're here to bring. And I just want to open up the floor for you to share with the world. What was your story on how you got here, and what was that breaking point where you finally felt like, you know what, I need to tell people what it's like to go through this so that they're not alone?
Sure. I mean, there's so much that goes into my story, so many things that I put out on TikTok and that I write about that have to do with my experience. I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to dissect and express to my TikTok following, the people that follow my blog, is when you grow up as a highly sensitive person, as that black sheep, as the scapegoat, the other in your family. I think that I was very othered. I grew up with a lot of tough love people.
Yeah.
Everyone around me was very tough love, very emotionally immature, and had no idea, had never experienced someone that had big emotions like me. And so
Right.
I grew up and spent my entire life, you try to, I guess, ensure that you are accepted within your circle. So, I'm suppressing my emotions, trying to fit in with a family that doesn't understand them. And I'm kind of talking down on myself. Like, why do I have to be the one that feels so big that thinks so big, that has all these big inner experiences, and it feels like you're wrong for that because you don't have any sort of example of that anywhere around you. And anytime you try to express that to people that can't hold that for you, it's you just feel shame. And so I went about my whole life feeling shame, trying to heal the sensitivity out of me, trying to heal all of these big, expansive parts of me out of me, going to therapy, trying to figure out what's wrong with me, what's wrong with me. I've always felt like something's wrong with me. And so it had gotten to a point where what kind of cracked me open, I read this book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. And it was just a book that I'd seen on like a site, and I read it, and it kind of completely, it like, I felt things in my brain start to connect. Like, okay, maybe I'm not so different. Like maybe my experience has been lived before. Maybe people have felt these big things that I've been feeling and suppressing my whole life. And so that kind of, I went down a rabbit hole after that. And then I guess recently now feeling the need to post my voice and write and share my experiences, it had just gotten to a point where I'd been suppressing for so long that I felt like I was going to jump out of my skin. Like there were so many experiences that I saved to save face, to not air out anyone's dirty laundry. I suppressed my own story to protect everyone else. And I think that, when you grow up with such a big responsibility as being the eldest daughter, as being the scapegoat, the other, trying to fit in with the family so bad, but you just can't, you never will. It had gotten to a point where I'm like, I can't even sustain this anymore. So then I started speaking on my lived experiences, and little did I know there were so many people that would resonate with my story, resonate with my words. I had no idea that would even happen. I was like, I just need to let it out. Yeah. And then I started calling people in. And so then it just kind of snowballed from there.
I'm really proud of you.
Thanks.
Really, I'm really proud of you. It's a big step, because you're finally stepping into your soul's path fully, and also because it takes a lot of courage knowing that your family could get upset at you and you're speaking your truth anyway. Mm-hmm. It creates a lot of self-doubt and worry, because that little hope that you're like, maybe my family might one day love me the way that I want them to. I don't want to burn the rest of the bridge. But then there's something that happens in your soul that goes, say that right now, because if you don't say it, I'm going to make you say it, because that's your truth. And then you do it and you're like, I can't believe I just did that. But you know what? It felt good.
It's funny that you say burning that bridge, not wanting to burn it, because I had made this video a couple months ago where I was just kind of realizing I'm trying not to burn this bridge for that exact reason. Maybe they could get to my level, but I've been waiting for so long. That bridge has been on fire for years. Mm-hmm. I didn't light the fire. I didn't set the fire. Right. I'm not fanning the flames. Why am I trying to prevent that from happening when it was meant to happen and I wasn't the one that started it?
You were not the one that started it, and you've probably for many years been trying to repair it while it's been on fire, and they've continued to pour the gasoline and throw the matches on while you're trying to mend it. At one point, we just have to accept that if it's ever going to happen, that they're going to see things from a different perspective, preferably ours. It'll happen if it's meant to, but at what expense? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's where it's like, okay, these people, regardless of who they are to me, have been hurting me, and I've tried to express that to them in the most loving way possible, and yet we're still at this, we just cannot meet anywhere in the middle to have some coherence. And I'm just asking for you to take accountability, and I'm taking accountability for my side, and can we just like come together in this place of love? And their response is usually something like, I don't need to apologize to you because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just me. And if you have a problem with that, well, you're the problem. So when we get to the place where we finally have to speak our truth, it it's no longer a matter, especially when you're called, when it's like a fire burning in your soul that says, please put this out there because you're not alone. There's so many people that need to hear your unique perspective, because your perspective offers a piece to the puzzle that maybe somebody else has, but they don't know how to say it like you do. And that's why when we are called, and this is for all of the light workers, all of the people and souls that are on the earth here to help, and I know you feel it inside of you when you feel that call. This is why it's so important for you to share your message, because you don't know who you're going to help. And when we, as sisters, but also for our brothers who are out here doing the spiritual work, when we find the courage to speak our truth, regardless of who it's going to hurt, we stand up against toxicity, paradigms that are unhealthy, that have been justified and okayed throughout previous generations. And right now on the planet, we have so much generational trauma and old paradigms that have been existing on the earth that are uprooting. The dark is coming to the light. We're now able to look at it. I mean, we have so many things that are coming to the light within the, celebrity world and everywhere else, where it's just everything's coming up to look at it and say, okay, collectively, you as human beings and all beings of earth, is this what you want on your planet? Are you going to continue to turn a blind eye to it, or would you like to lift it out, remove it, and stand against it and say, I don't want this as a part of humanity anymore. This is not something that is conducive to a healthy civilization, and therefore we have to be the ones to say enough is enough.
Yes.
Because if we keep saying, oh, well, I don't want my mom to be upset at me, and I don't want my grandparents to be upset at me, or my brother, or whoever, I don't want my family to not like me. Well, at what point were they going to?
Yep. I feel that, and that's exactly my experience. Was how much more time am I going to spend protecting all of these people when no one's protecting me? Nobody's ever protected me. And I've had to heal from and dissect all of these things within me because of the impact that these people had on me and my self-perception, and, kind of gaslighting me into who I am and what my purpose is. And, it had just gotten to a point where it's like, I'm sorry, mom, dad, grandparents, like I have to speak my truth. And my truth does involve things that probably won't paint you in a good light, but that doesn't mean that they're not true. And, suppressing them is just doing what I've done my whole life, is suppressing. I can't do it anymore. You get to a point where it's like, I really am going to crawl out of my skin. It's just within you. You have to speak it. That's how I felt. And I've never had a moment like that where it's like, if I don't speak this, like I can't go on.
When we suppress so much within us, whether it's our gifts or our voice or the pain that we've held inside for the comfort of others, that's why so many of us develop autoimmune issues or gut issues or heart palpitations or mental health, literal fractures of the psyche, because you have your soul, which always is trying to keep you on track and speak your truth and saying, okay, well, this doesn't feel right and I don't like this. But then you have your physical self, which is trying to keep the family peaceful and calm, and it's looking for comfort and to be nurtured and loved. So it's like this constant like back and forth, and that's what creates war inside of yourself. And there was a somebody said it a long time ago, and I don't even remember who it was, and it's probably an older saying than this person. But I remember they said, when you don't, what you suppress within yourself and don't speak out as your truth to create peace in your environment creates a war within yourself. Yep. And I couldn't tell you how many years. I just turned 39 yesterday. I couldn't tell you how many years that I've had that war within myself, because every time I tried to speak my truth, usually the masculines, but also with my mother, it was met with anger, frustration. How dare I have that kind of, well, no, this is what they feel. Okay. And that's why. And then I'd sit there and I'd listen. I would just take it and be yelled at and whatever. And it's like, okay, let me listen to your perspective so I can understand how I'm wrong and you're right, and I need to fix whatever I need to fix so I can make you more comfortable, because clearly I shouldn't have felt that way in the first place. That is where the war within you continues and continue. It's a never ending war, because it's like they don't want to change.
Yeah.
They don't want to grow. They don't want to evolve. They want to stay the same. Their brains are very rigid. Their ways of being are very rigid. It's because you're the lover, you're the nurturer, you're the one that wants to bring everybody together. So it's your job to mold to their plasticity and just rigid. And it's gross, honestly.
Yeah. It forces you to water yourself down, water this big soul and who you were meant to be, water it down so that you're able to be digestible to the people around you. And everybody else is digestible, so maybe I just gotta cut some corners here and then I'll fit. That's kind of my experience. Maybe if I cut this corner a little bit, then I'll fit. Or maybe if I water this part of myself down, then I'll fit. Then I'll be accepted. Maybe then they'll understand me and they'll get closer to my level. I found that no matter how much I bent and watered myself down, there was no change happening there. People don't change unless they want to.
Yes, and I want to say to that, that's the program that has been so heavily solidified for so long for the divine feminine, the feminine archetype, to be soft and malleable and do as you say, and then you're a good girl, because if you speak up and you are anything other than what they want you to be, you're now a problem. And I'm going to beat your ass down until you submit and be what you're supposed to be as a woman. That's not okay. The thing is that now that the divine feminine is rising fully into power, and I mean really and truly this time around, we are angry. We are upset. We are fire. We are sacred rage. We are water. We are earth. We are all of the elements that are coming up within us. We're the stars. We're the universe. We're not just the light. We're the light and the universe. We are the creators of creation. And the more that we come into our power and our fullness of being, the more we realize we don't have to be anything we don't want to be. We don't have to conform to your feelings. We have to rise up and step in, because the divine masculine, who has suppressed the divine feminine for so long, is not doing a good job. They're not doing a good job at leading the countries. They're not doing a good job at being the leaders that they're so desperately wanting to be. They're being toxic, and they're leading the civilizations that they're supposed to be protecting into wars and chaos and constant stress. Now, if we have women in positions of power, women by nature are protectors. Women by nature are also nurturers. Women talk. We work through things. We're able to see from both sides and both perspectives. Men tend to, primarily, not all, have this very rigid, this is how it is, or we're gonna kill. And it's like so primal, so Colosseum. Like, we're not there anymore. We're evolving. And this is why women now are coming into a place of power, because we have to do something We have to, because the world, if we don't now, the world is going to go to shit. And it's scary. It's really scary what's happening right now, but we can't live in fear. We have to rise up and we have to speak our truth, which is exactly what you're doing. And that's why I said I'm so proud of you, because nobody said this is what you had to do. Your soul said it's time and you listened. And that's
What I
huge.
think, it's so fascinating because when I started to come on TikTok, and specifically probably that video that you saw initially of mine, that one's been blowing up since I posted. I want to say it's been a month or two. I posted it because I just wanted to see if anybody else was feeling what I was feeling, and what what kind of makes this time different, because I've had a lot of periods in my life where I've wanted and needed to speak out, or I've needed to separate myself from my family, or I've needed to make some change, but it was never a permanent change. It was never a big enough change to really cause like a ripple, and the world keeps turning kind of thing. Back in February, I think, is when things really kind of energetically hit the fan for me, and I think for a lot of people as well. February
Yeah,
was just a turning point, and I don't know, just energetically it was.
it
And I had
was.
quit my job. I just knew, like, I walked in one day, I didn't have any sort of, I guess, I wasn't planning to quit my job at all. And I walked in and I had a conflict with a manager, and I didn't quit right on the jump, or right from the jump, but like I took the rest of the day and kind of sat with it. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, energetically, like, this is just stifling me. I feel
Yeah.
depressed here. Like, I don't know that I can do this anymore. This full-time 9 to 5, I just feel suffocated. And so at the end of that shift, I quit my job. And it was a week after I moved into my own apartment, after I moved 800 miles to be closer to my family. So then
Wow.
I quit my job. And then probably 2 weeks after I quit my job, I estranged myself from my parents because of just a need to. I just needed to. I was feeling suppressed in all ways. And then from there have just kind of been slowly but surely sharing my truth, sharing my experience. And I think what my purpose is right now is to destigmatize the becoming, the messiness of this stage of my life. Like, ideally, when I was looking at my life and wanting to become an author and wanting to speak my truth in all of these ways, it would have come after I reached a certain point, after I, was a certain person. But it almost felt like the energy was, well, you can be that person now. Like, what you need to be speaking about is now. What are
Yeah.
you feeling? What are you experiencing? You don't have to be this more wise person. You don't have to have all these different achievements to be able to speak your mind and make an impact. So it was just a cosmic need to share. I had no other choice but to share. I was just being called to.
It's so awesome. I'm honestly just like, it's just beautiful to hear from your perspective, because it's like, I do I meditate so often. I meditate every single day, and I have these conversations with people who are other masters spiritually. And I've even, not yesterday, but the day before, I had a really important conversation with a very special soul. She's actually going to be on the podcast beginning of July, but she confirmed so much of the messages that I had been receiving. And I had been saying these things, and it's like, I know in my soul their truth. I know absolutely with certainty their truth. But to hear someone else who I did not speak this out to, I did not share these personal inner monologue messages that I was getting from my higher self and my guides, just boldly in my face saying, absolutely, it is absolutely time, and your podcast is extremely important, and these are the reasons of why. And I was in this meditation with the spiritual council, and they said that at this time all these souls are being called to the forefront to speak their truth of their soul, regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable it is. And it's just like, okay, we are in the time that I knew that we are. And it's not just me, coming to this conclusion or having this feeling or being given these messages. It's so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of a sudden a spark just.
Yes, it was like a flip of a switch, and everyone, all these people in my collective, on my For You page, people I was connecting with
It's
were
got chills.
same, were literally coming and sharing their same experience, same timeline. People quitting their jobs. So many people are quitting their jobs right now. So many people are removing themselves from the systems that have kept us from our creativity, from our voices, from our true authentic expression. Everyone's kind of waking up to that, at least in my collective right now. And it's so amazing to see when you feel it. And then you're watching other people experience what you're feeling too. It just is so much confirmation that now is the time.
It is. I've been getting so many messages from different readers and channelers for different collectives popping up, and it's like I'll see one and then I'll see 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I get it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm here. I'm doing my work, I promise.
Yes. Sometimes I think it gets confusing for me because I think that I've been in this liminal space for quite some time now, since February, kind of watching this version of myself that I built to be digestible to my family, to fit into my family. I moved across the country to be here with them, and then got an apartment to be close to them, and got this job to stay in their orbit, and then having the job fall away, the family fall away, the apartment, when you don't have money, the apartment's going to fall away, kind of thing. All of these different systems that I built up for a timeline that wasn't meant for me are falling away, and I'm sitting in this liminal space, and I'm still speaking and feeling and navigating, how I feel, and still kind of pushing forward and posting, forcing myself to post myself in the mess. I mean,
Right.
normally I would wait until, the storm cleared and then I would share what I went through. But now I'm kind of forcing myself to come on podcasts like this, to post on TikTok and share, like, things are falling apart in that old timeline. And I am having to maintain a frequency of, I know that my right timeline, like, I know that I am at that frequency ready to, I guess, align with it. I'm just waiting for everything else to fall away. It's a scary place to be, but it is sacred.
It is, and it's because you finally surrendered into your path. I want to share something with you, a story of mine. So, 20, 2023, September, was it September? September 27th or 28th, my old landlord was working with my ex-husband's mom and my ex-husband. All of them are corrupt. And I lived in a house for several years, and I had just absolute turmoil happening at that time. Long story, I'll tell it soon. But my ex-husband was trying to control what I was doing, not wanting to be present for my children. So my ex-husband mainly was just primarily about control. It was not him being able to see my children. It was just he needed to control what I was doing, where I was at. And he had asked me, at the time I was already with someone else, and he had come back around and he asked me to be with him again. And I said, absolutely not. I will never be with you ever again. I gave him 17 years of my life in dedication to trying to be this big, to earn his love, and no, thank you. So anyway, he stooped to very drastic measures, and he worked with a very corrupt person, which was the landlord. I was desperately trying to get out of that house for at least a year. Everywhere I turned, everybody said you have to make 3 times the amount in rent, and you have to pay first and last month and deposit, which was like astronomical. It's insane. So yeah, I was just desperately trying to find a way to get me and my children out of there. And I kept getting the message, which I wish I would have saved it, but it was on my old computer, and then I had a piece of paper, and the piece of paper was on my old computer desk, and it said, start the podcast. And then the next one was get us into our new house. And so those were like my main goals. And I kept repeatedly getting the message, like, you have to start the podcast, you have to start the podcast. And so we were forced. They so I would drop off money orders, and then I would take a picture before I would drop it off. Then I would take a picture of me dropping it off because I just knew. I had a
You
very
wanted that track, yeah.
yeah, I had a strong feeling something was going to happen. Little did I know it would be as big as it was. So I finally had the money to move. I was driving hours, and I mean hours, to find places remotely near where I live now. And I mean, it was just total like survival mode desperation. I was just like, I have to find where I need to be. But in my soul and in my heart, I knew where I'm at now is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And one day it just clicked, and I was like, you know what? Like I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm just gonna sit down one more time. And I had my dowsing rods at the time, and I just put them down, and I looked at a map, and I asked my soul, where am I supposed to be? And exactly where I'm at now is what I saw. And I was like, you know what? I don't care what anybody says. All these people are like, you can't find a house there. It's too hard. It's too expensive, whatever. I said, you know what? I have to listen to my soul at some point. So we ended up having to put all our stuff in storage. We were being threatened to have the police come and remove us out of the house. It was just insane what was going on. The landlord's boyfriend, who was a drug addict, was showing up, banging on the wall. At one point, he showed up at 2 a.m, was taking pictures of my license plate. I mean, just insane. It was scary. There was a lot going on. Yeah. So we ended up, me and my kids, my partner was staying at the house there. Me and my children drove all the way here, hours. We stayed in a hotel. I was guided that night to get a different hotel in the morning. And I was just like, at this point, I'm in total, just like in my flow. So I was like, I have no idea why I'm being guided to get another hotel, but okay. So I went on the app, chose the one that lit up for me on the screen, and I was like, all right, I'm going to pick this one. Went there, went to the beach, packed up our stuff in the car, went to the beach. I was laying down on the sheet, and I got a text message from the landlord and her boyfriend, one right after another, of a picture of a 3-day pay or have all your stuff locked out of the house, which, mind you, I already paid the rent. My phone turned off. The battery died right after I received the picture. I laid down and just put my face down on the sheet, and I said to the universe, I said, please cleanse all of this stress from me. I can't handle it anymore. The ocean literally covered my entire sheet, me, my phone, everything, washed, ripped it out of me. I yelled, I got up, I picked up everything. I was like, oh my God, okay, thank you.
My phone didn't be so literal.
Yeah, my phone was wet. I was praying that it would charge so I could find the hotel. So I'm trying to dry it off. I get it dry. I'm like, okay, please don't electrocute me. I plug it in the car. I'm like, all right, just please turn on so I can find my hotel. I find the hotel. It's across the street from the beach. I get there, and I usually didn't talk about anything, none of my personal stuff, to anybody. It was total guidance. The manager working in the office, she's like, hey, you okay? You need a minute? Yeah, there's just a lot going on right now. I ask her, or she says something, how many nights do I need? And I said, well, how many can I book for? And she goes, well, we have a long-term stay here. And I was like, oh my God. And immediately I got chills, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I said, well, I just, like, in my heart it was loud. So I was like, I just got a message from my landlord, and they're doing some really shady stuff right now. And they just gave me a 3-day pay or leave. And I put everything in a storage. I need a place for me and my children. And she goes, well, you guys can stay here for as long as you need. 8 months off and on. We had to live. We had to travel back and forth because the court hadn't approved my being out of the area yet. So I had to go back from that county, that county to this one. And it's like we were constantly trying to comply, but also like being where I'm supposed to be. 8 months of going through some of the most hellish turmoil and stress and constant just spiritual battles, left, right, diagonal, up and down, to where I was like, I literally was like, I don't know how much more you think I can take, but I'm trying so hard right now to be here and be strong for my children. And I got to a point where I was like, I surrender. I just surrender. You put me where you need, just do whatever you need me to do. Tell me, show me. I don't know what else you want me to do. And I lost everything in my storage because I couldn't pay it because the hotel was expensive. I found the food bank here, which is everything that I've ever said communities need, which is a place for the stores, instead of throwing away the food, donate it to one place where everybody can go get the food, which is years and years I've said, and it's literally my vision that I've had. I volunteer there now. Well, I just started back, but I was volunteering there all the time. I'm now a volunteer there again because I had to get a walker / wheelchair because of the fibromyalgia from all the trauma and the stress. So I one day was like, what do you need me to do? To my higher self, my soul, my guides, everybody. And they said, start the podcast. And I was like, I'm in a hotel. How? And the Wi-Fi's horrible. In my car, in the parking lot, with a green screen, is how I started this podcast. On faith and fumes and a vision that my soul could only be the one to hold, because I physically was like, I don't know how I'm going to accomplish all these things, but I know I'm supposed to. The week that I was doing an episode with Tony, she'll be on here again, but she's on two of the episodes. Beautiful, incredible, ancient soul. She does angelic healing. I was on the phone with her. I said, hey, I don't know, how this is gonna sound, but I haven't told anybody this really. But I said we were living in a hotel for 8 months at the time. I've applied to these programs. I'm trying to get a house. I've been trying. Everything's been wild. She goes, yeah, the angel said it's going to happen a lot sooner than you think. In the middle of that call, I get a call. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm in survival mode, and I'm just like dealing with court and getting a restraining order against my ex-husband and dealing with custody stuff and everything else. So, of course, I'm like, God, what is it? So I answer the phone, and it's the program, and they said, hey, so we had this family that was going to move into the house that we just got opened up finally, but they backed out at the last minute. Are you in? And I got chills again. And I was like, yes, please.
I've been waiting for this.
Like, there could never be a better phone call that I will ever receive than this one right here. So it happens when it's supposed to happen, but it happens when you fully surrender into what you're here to be doing. Even when the how looks absolutely insane and it doesn't make any sense to anybody but you, do it anyway, because it all works. Look, this is what I prayed for. This is my angel. They like to put my hat on her.
I love that.
This is what I prayed for. This space 2 years ago, I said to my children all together, they said, I want a house with stairs and then upstairs, and I want it to be by the ocean. And I said, me, I do too, but listen, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but it's going to happen. This is where we're supposed to be. And to look around and every single day, and I don't say that with any exaggeration, to look around every single day and count my blessings and say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so thankful. I started over with bags of clothes. I didn't have furniture. I didn't have anything but me and my kids and faith. So when I tell you it works out when you do what you're here to be doing, oh, it does. But I could have not ever told you it was going to happen this way.
I love hearing stories like that. That's amazing. And it really, like, people that tell stories like that, that share their stories of everything collapsing, and then the moment that everything starts to change, I think it helps people like me who I'm waiting for that call, that notification that I don't even know what the dream is anymore. You know, like you sit in the liminal space, you're in survival mode for so long. What is the dream anymore at this point?
Right.
What am I waiting for? And to hear people share, like, you get to that point where it's just like a dead end, and then that's when things start to shift. It really is inspiring to people that, I'm not going to go back to a life that I was living before. And stories like yours kind of prove that you're not supposed to, that everything will work out.
You write it on paper because you have to bring your conscious, what you have as a goal onto into the physical realm. You write it on paper physically with your full intention, with your whole heart and soul, exactly what you want to manifest for yourself, what you want to see. And then you every single day consistently look at that paper, read it out loud and say, I am so thankful for this exact thing that you've written down. And you say it like you already have it, and you believe it, and you know it. And when your mind and your worries and your thoughts and doubts creep in, you just envision them dissolving into light every single time, because those are normal to have. It's completely normal to feel doubts and fears and the worries about the how. You're not going to get to know the how. It's just going to happen. But yes, you have them as goals, but you have to, when you're manifesting and creating consciously, you have to say it like you already have it. From experience, I'll even go as far as to say, and this is something that most people really do dream for, and this is why I constantly tell my children, like, be truly grateful. I specifically specified an amount for rent, and I was joking halfway because I was like, there's no way. Like, I mean, maybe, in a miracle world, exactly that amount is how much my rent is. Like, so you have to say it over and over again. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're really trying to manifest and you're consciously creating, it's important to say those same words every day. It's like, okay, I have this home. This is how much my rent is around. This is, this is what it looks like. This is where it is. I even drew it on paper. I mean, it's not going to be like exactly detail for detail sometimes, but sometimes it is. You just have to trust the process and know that your soul is leading you where you're supposed to be. But I'm a firm believer in writing it on paper, because it brings that, what you have in your vision, into the physical reality. So whatever you're trying to manifest right now for yourself, you do have to have that really conscious vision. Like, you don't, I always say this for years, I've said this to so many people, but you don't want to be a leaf in the wind, because the universe doesn't know where to put you if you're not like really super like, this is what I want, and intentional about what you're creating. So get it down physically and have it somewhere where you can look at it every day, and then hyper fixate on it, but also have that trust in your heart. Like, okay, this is what I want, but I'm trusting in the divine to make it happen. And it really will. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I couldn't have in my wildest dreams told you this is how it was going to work out. It was that spark.
It's interesting. So when you were saying not to be a leaf in the wind, that kind of was like a ding ding for me, because I believe that, we sign up. We have our soul contract. We are kind of predestined to go certain routes, to experience certain things, to be like located in certain places, to reach certain people. I believe all of those things. Something that I think that as a manifesting generator, I'm kind of all over the place as far as like interests and desires and passions go. It almost benefits me to be a leaf in the wind in some ways, because when I get so concrete on one thing, then all these other things that are piquing my interest and that are part of my like passionate expression go unnoticed. So my personal journey, being more flexible with my desires and I guess what I want to see from my life, that's how I kind of have to operate, or else like the concrete vision leaves out so much of who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So where you're coming from on how you're operating on it is perfect, because what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is like you have the vision of an idea of a concept of like where you want to be and like what you want to be doing, but you're allowing for the universe to work it all out. That is
Yes.
perfect. For what I mean by a leaf in the wind is when people don't have any sort of vision on anything that they're really wanting, they just know that they don't like what they are currently
Yeah.
experiencing, and they don't specify anything really to just say, I want it to be better. The universe doesn't know how to translate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like they're just kind of floating around aimlessly until some day or someone says, hey, this might be a good idea for you. Like I saw that with my mom, where it's like I would ask her like, well, what do you want to do? And then she was like, well, I want to do what you do. And it's like, you don't even know what I do, you know? And then her best friend who passed on, I was actually there when her best friend passed away. I helped to, I was actually the shaman that was called in to help release her soul when she was actively passing. But her best friend told her, why don't you get into social work? And so she did. And that became part of her path, but she didn't have any sort of vision or like what she wanted. And I've seen that with so many people where it's just like, they're just like, I don't know, I just want to feel something different. That's, if that is somebody's path, that is fine. But when you're a conscious manifester and you're a creator, for us, we have to have some kind of a vision of like, okay, when I sat down and asked myself like, and I've done this multiple times over the years, but when I asked myself like, okay, what makes me genuinely happy? And so I was like, okay, well, I love helping people. I love doing my spiritual work. I love healing. I love guiding. I love being the teacher that I am and channeling all this information and wisdom from the divine, because I was given this gift to help. Well, it helps guide me and then it helps others. So it's like, okay, I love doing that. I'll do that. But how do I do it on a larger scale? And that's when I was shown this, creating this energetic stratosphere where I can bring all of these souls that are here on the planet together to share their story for free, to give them a platform, to help them, to help the world, because this is what we're here to do. And then we come together and cultivate community, because now we don't feel alone. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, each of these things came to me and I was like, okay, I love this. I love doing this. What else do I love? I love music, I love creating music. I love all these things. When I got really specific, that's what helped me to create a vision, because then my soul could, clarify like, okay, this is the path that you need to go forward. Most of us are multidimensional. Most of us are multi-passionate and we have all these things that we love to do, which is awesome. But it can, for those of us who deal with what humans call ADHD brain, it can feel really, difficult to like pick a direction because we're like, well, I really love this, but then I really love this, and I really like to do this, and you know what? I think I'm gonna make a website, and I'm gonna put everything on the website, and I'm just gonna figure it out. It's all part of the journey. There's no right way or wrong way to do it, but being a conscious creator, we do have to have some kind of steps that we can kind of follow along with, because we can get really lost in being, like I said, just being that like, okay, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you just get stuck like that. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying is like, okay, the steps for me that helped me to refine into existence what it is that I'm supposed to do is like, okay, if I know what I don't like, and I know what I do like, and I know what makes me happy, and my soul feel like I'm doing my purpose, then I'm going to write it all down, and I'm just going to look at it, and I'm going to figure out like, okay, what do I love most? What feels the strongest for me to go towards right now? And what are the things that are like my hobbies and I love doing, but are not like, I want to do that every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what helped me refine it. And hopefully that helps you and whoever else, to kind of have like a step by step process. Cause we're not supposed to do one thing,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that this current moment, just in the last few weeks, and especially just like right now, it really does feel like all of these things are kind of coming to a head. The energy feels more potent, more compressed, like more like things are going to break open. They have to, like, we're kind of at a dead stop. There's nowhere else to go but to elevate, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I'm also feeling this like pressure almost to like, things are going to shift. So like, you got to kind of, like you said, figure it out. What is your purpose? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Because now is the time, kind of thing. Like, you have this time to kind of explore and figure out what your niche is, what your passion is, and now work full send, kind of thing. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting.
I'm getting for you a strong vision if you are open.
Please.
I'm really seeing exactly what you're already doing, but in a more intimate, detail by detail scale. Like, in all of your moments of vulnerability that you feel called to share, even when it feels uncomfortable, those are the moments. It's almost like you're literally vlogging, like your story, your steps, because you're so relatable and you're so real and so like normal, you know what I'm saying? To where you blend in better. Like, your soul is a bigger soul, and you're here to be a light worker, but you as a person, you're so relatable. So it's like you connect with people so much easier. That's why people feel so drawn to you. So I'm seeing like you doing that on an even more intimate level, where you're just really being like raw and real. That's gonna help you bring in income. That's what I'm really seeing for you.
Noted.
I don't know what other doors will open up for you with that, but I'm definitely seeing this is like meant for you. So I would just do a lot more of what you're already doing, but don't be afraid to share your intimate, like raw, real moments, because these are the moments that people need to feel like it's like I literally feel like a sigh of relief. It's like, oh my God, like I'm not fucking alone. Mm-hmm. I'm not alone.
Yeah. People want to suffer in silence. It's very scary to admit when you're struggling. I think that my biggest...
because it's not pretty.
Yeah. My biggest push right now is like, let them see you suffer. Like, let them see you kind of navigating this struggle era of your life. And, it's not always pretty, and things are, there's a lot of shame wrapped up in all of these systems that are collapsing in my life. All of these things that are, I guess, a societal marker of failure that I'm experiencing right now. nobody wants to see that, or I guess nobody wants to share their own experience with, like, being dead broke, trying to find housing, maintain housing, all of these things that aren't pretty and that are societal markers of failure. I think that I'm just being called to just share what I'm feeling and
You
not keep
are.
it inside.
I'm seeing so many people, specifically women, like sisters, like coming rallying around you to support you. And honestly, that's such a gift because, it's like I've done so much aside from the unseen, which I am infinitely grateful for. I've done so much alone. Like I've been a mom for 19 years and I've done it essentially on the physical level alone while dealing with abuse from my ex-husband and from others. And I mean really intensive, like manipulative and also physical verbal abuse. I've dealt with a lot of traumas and I've dealt with it essentially alone. So to have a to cultivate such a following of people who genuinely want to see you succeed, I feel like that's where you're going to gather and draw your strength. And for you, you're so relatable. For me, I'm in space. Like most people can't even find the orbit to come talk to me except for on here.
I think you're relatable too, though. I think that your experiences are very, the way that you process them, it just speaks to your wisdom. I don't think that you're not relatable either. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
But I
Trying.
do understand what you mean. Kind
I'm
of
getting,
feeling out of reach.
yes, I feel like I'm getting closer than ever before to actually sharing my story in an open sense. And so that's also, it's not just going to be you. Like, I'm going to share mine too, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot, and I'm going to have to break it down into a lot of parts because I always had this, like, I didn't want to hurt people with secondhand trauma or like even just feeling the intensity of the experiences that I went through, because there's a Buddhist saying, and it's happiness is doubled when shared, but sadness is reduced to half. And so it's like that sadness goes to the other person, and I don't want to hurt other people with sharing my story, but at the same time I feel like now more than ever it's time, because people do need to hear here's the reason why I keep getting the message on why I need to share, because I've gone through so much intense experiences, so many things that are so crazy to where you're like, how are you even alive, let alone like coming into this version of yourself? How? And my middle name is Hope. And I am a living embodiment of, you can go through literally some of the hardest things in life and still come out the other side and shine. I am living proof. I am really living proof. And that is why I'm like, you know what? I feel like it's worth it. I feel like it's time. And now more than ever, people need something to hold on to that's positive, because the world is doing what the world is going to do. And all we can do is do our best every day to, show up and shine our light and hope that it lights a way for others.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I commend you and I'm really proud of you because you're doing an amazing job. And I feel like it's only going to grow for you. Just stay consistent and keep showing up even in the uncomfortable. And honestly, I would just completely dissolve all the worry of what your family thinks, because at the end of the day, those who love you and truly want to see you be successful and show up for you are going to be there regardless. And it might hurt in the process of them hearing you share your truth, but you know what? Be better.
Mm-hmm. Amen. It's true. I don't know. Now's the time. And I think that, we're here also to not like serve people their karma, but we're here to be catalysts for other people. So if sharing my truth is potentially the catalyst for big change in any of the people that are affected by my truth, then, a win is a win.
Absolutely. What is your tattoo? Is it sevens?
I was going to say, oh, yes. My birthday's on the 7th, so my lucky
Wow.
numbers.
It's the number of luck.
Yep.
The
And
angel numbers.
I've got a 4-leaf
Aw.
clover also.
I love that. You're right where you're supposed to be. And it's all going to work out. And I'm telling you, I don't know exactly how, but it's going to work out. You just keep showing up and reach out to resources and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be okay.
I'm trying to embody that. I know that it will. On like
Breathe
on a grand scale, I know that it will.
Breathe it in. It's going to be okay.
It'll be okay.
You feel it?
I feel it.
All right. We're going to talk more, but we're going to end this episode here, and I'm going to say, for anybody that is interested in following Karlee, I want you to very much check out her blog because she is awesome and her story is really, really important. I feel like you're going to help so many people with everything you share, and I'm excited for the project that you shared with me earlier that shall be released when it is time. The website is called Medium.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like medium.com?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that's the margins of me. And then her TikTok, please follow her on TikTok at Karlee. Again, that's at KarLeeM as in Mary, ARL, and then 3 E's. I really, really love your videos, and I just felt so called to have you on because as soon as I heard you speak, my soul was like, she's the next one. She's a good one.
I'm honored to have been here. It was lovely chatting with you and hearing your experiences as well. I can't wait to see what you do with this podcast and how it, transforms people.
I'm ready. And I love that I have the honor to do this. Honestly, it's a really beautiful and amazing experience, and I'm thankful to still be here on this planet doing what I do. So
Yep.
as much as I can help, I'm happy to help. I really want to thank you so much for being on today, and me and you will talk more later, but I hope that all of you listen to these stories today and realize that yes, life gets hard, and yes, things feel difficult, but the more you hold the line and have faith and keep hope alive, that you will in fact achieve your goals and dreams, and whatever is going on for you, I pray that it gets better. I hope you see the vision and listen to your soul, and if you feel called to speak openly or share your truth, please do, because now is the time more than ever. And Karlee, I wanted to ask you if you have a message for the world today on anything that you want to share from your heart.
I just think the biggest message that I've been projecting is that authenticity is safe and vulnerability is safe. And this is what's going to heal this collective, is us all coming together and healing together and sharing together and realizing that we're not as alone as we might have felt.
Amen. Aho. All right. Hope you all have a beautiful day, and we will see you soon.